Captain Jake Morrison stared out the window of the transport ship as Unity Prime came into view. The massive space station looked like a giant metal flower floating in the darkness. Its 12 arms stretched out like petals, each one representing a different alien species in the Galactic Council. This was it, humanity's first chance to join the galaxy's most important organization. "Sir, we'll be docking in 10 minutes, said Commander Alex Hayes from behind him. The security chief looked nervous, which made Jake feel even more anxious. If Alex was worried, then this really was as dangerous as everyone said. Dr. Lisa Stone looked up from her tablet where she had been reading files about the different alien species. "The Vorthons control most of the Council's military decisions," she said quietly. "They've been the strongest species for over 300 years. Jake nodded. He had read the same reports. The Vorthon Empire used advanced energy weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. Every species that joined the Council had to prove themselves in combat against Vorthon warriors. Most gave up quickly once they saw how powerful the weapons were. The transport ship shook slightly as it connected to the docking bay. Through the metal walls, Jake could hear strange sounds and voices speaking in languages he had never heard before. His heart beat faster. "Remember," Jake said to his team, "we're here to represent all of humanity. Whatever happens in there, we stay calm and professional." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The first thing that hit Jake was the smell. It wasn't bad, just different. Like flowers mixed with metal and something he couldn't identify. The air felt thicker than Earth's atmosphere. A tall figure waited for them in the corridor. It had blue skin that seemed to shimmer like water and large black eyes. When it spoke, its voice sounded like singing. "Welcome, humans. I am Ambassador Silnath of the Aquarian delegation. The Council is ready to meet you." They followed the Aquarian through corridors filled with incredible sights. Jake saw creatures that looked like giant insects talking to beings made of what appeared to be living crystal. Floating jellyfish-like aliens drifted past overhead, while small, furry creatures scurried along the walls. The council chamber was enormous. 12 different sections surrounded a central arena, each filled with a different type of alien. Jake estimated there were thousands of beings watching them. The noise was overwhelming until a deep, booming voice cut through it all. Silence. The chamber went quiet instantly. In the largest section sat the Vorthons. They were huge, at least 8 feet tall, with gray skin like stone and red eyes that seemed to glow. Their leader stood up slowly. Even from across the chamber, Jake could feel the power radiating from the creature. "I am Supreme Chancellor Zekthor of the Vorthon Empire," the alien said. His voice echoed through the chamber without any kind of microphone. "You claim to represent the species called humans?" Jake stepped forward. "Yes, I am Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. We come seeking membership in the Galactic Council." A sound like laughter came from the Vorthon section, but it wasn't friendly. Zekthor's red eyes narrowed as he looked down at the small human delegation. "Every species must prove their worth before joining our council," Zekthor announced. "You will face our champion in the arena. If you survive the first attack, you may surrender with honor and accept a lower position. If you do not survive..." He left the sentence unfinished. Jake felt his mouth go dry. They had known this was coming, but seeing it happen was different from reading about it. Around the chamber, alien voices began murmuring in dozens of languages. "We accept," Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. Alex stepped closer to Jake. "Sir, let me go. I'm the security chief. This is my job." But before Jake could answer, Sergeant Ryan Clark moved forward. "With respect, sir, I volunteer. I've trained for this my whole career." Jake looked at the young soldier. Clark was only 25 years old with short brown hair and the kind of quiet confidence that made good soldiers. He had volunteered for this mission knowing it might mean his death. "Are you sure, Sergeant?" Jake asked. Clark nodded. "Yes, sir, for Earth." The arena floor was made of some kind of dark metal that reflected the lights from above. Clark walked to the center, looking very small and alone. Across from him, a Vorthon warrior entered. The alien was twice Clark's size and carried a weapon that hummed with energy. Zekthor stood again. "Let it begin!" The Vorthan warrior raised his weapon. It looked like a rifle but glowed with bright blue energy. The humming sound grew louder until it became a high-pitched whine that hurt Jake's ears. The alien fired. A beam of pure energy shot across the arena, bright enough to hurt the eyes of everyone watching. It struck Clark directly in the chest. The humans in the delegation held their breath, waiting to see their colleague die. But Clark didn't fall down. He didn't even step backward. The energy beam seemed to bend around him, like water flowing around a rock. Where it touched his body, there were small sparkles of light, but Clark himself looked completely unharmed. The chamber fell silent. Not the controlled silence from before, but the shocked quiet of thousands of beings who couldn't believe what they were seeing. Clark looked down at himself, then up at the Vorthan warrior. "Is that all?" he asked. The warrior fired again, this time holding the beam steady for several seconds. The energy weapon made a screaming sound as it poured power into the attack. But again, the beam simply flowed around Clark without hurting him. Other Vorthan warriors joined the first one. They fired their weapons together, filling the air with deadly energy. The beams crossed and recrossed, turning the arena into a light show of destruction that should have killed anything living. Clark stood in the middle of it all, completely calm. The energy danced around him like he was made of mirrors, reflecting the light in all directions but never touching his skin. When the weapons finally stopped firing, Clark was still standing. His uniform wasn't even burned. Supreme Chancellor. Zekthor's red eyes were wide with what looked like fear. Around the chamber, aliens were making sounds Jake had never heard before. Some sounded amazed. Others sounded terrified. "How?" Zekthor whispered, but his voice still carried through. The silent chamber, Clark shrugged. "I don't know. I feel fine." Jake realized that everything had just changed. Not just for this meeting, but for humanity's place in the galaxy. Whatever had just happened, it was going to shake the foundations of everything these aliens believed about power and strength. Dr. Stone grabbed Jake's arm. "We need to run tests immediately," she whispered urgently. "If all humans have this immunity—" She didn't finish the sentence, but Jake understood. If all humans were immune to energy weapons, then the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. In the Vorthan section, Zekthor was having a heated discussion with his advisors. Their voices were too low to hear, but their body language showed anger and confusion. The other alien delegations were talking excitedly among themselves. Jake caught words in various languages that he recognized from his briefings. Words like impossible and revolution and freedom. Ambassador Silneth appeared beside the human delegation. "You should prepare yourselves," the Aquarian said softly. "What happened here today will change everything, and not everyone will be happy about it." The emergency meeting room buzzed with activity as alien scientists worked alongside Dr. Lisa Stone. She had never seen technology like this before. Machines that could scan down to the cellular level, computers that processed information faster than anything on Earth, and equipment that seemed to read thoughts directly from brainwaves. "The results are the same every time," Dr. Stone said, looking at the data on her tablet. "Sergeant Clark's body somehow absorbs the energy and converts it into something harmless." The lead Aquarian scientist, Dr. Velnara, floated in a tank filled with blue liquid. Her tentacles moved gracefully as she operated several machines at once. "In 300 years of galactic history, we have never seen anything like this," she said through the water. "Energy weapons are the foundation of all modern warfare." Captain Jake Morrison watched from the corner as more tests were prepared. Word had spread quickly through Unity Prime, and representatives from all 12 species wanted to see the humans tested. Some looked excited. Others looked worried. Commander Alex Hayes entered the room with 3 more volunteers from their delegation. "Sir, Corporal Emma Davis, Private Kevin Miller, and Lieutenant Nicole Brooks have agreed to additional testing." Emma was a 23-year-old communications specialist with red hair and freckles. She looked nervous but determined. Kevin was older, maybe 30, with dark skin and the steady hands of an engineer. Nicole was the pilot of their transport ship, calm and professional like all good pilots. "Are you sure about this?" Jake asked them. We still don't know if this immunity is something all humans have or just Ryan. Only one way to find out, sir, Emma said with a small smile. The testing chamber was smaller than the main arena but still impressive. Alien observers filled the viewing gallery above. Jake recognized some faces from the council session. The Y. Peaceful Aquarians floated in their water tanks. The crystal beings reflected light in rainbow patterns. But the Vorthons were notably absent. Dr. Velnara activated the first weapon. It was a small energy pistol, the kind used by security forces across the galaxy. The blue beam struck Emma in the shoulder. Just like with Ryan, the energy seemed to flow around her body without causing harm. Fascinating, Dr. Velnara whispered. The electromagnetic field around her body is actually growing stronger as it absorbs the energy. They tested Kevin next, with a larger rifle. The same result. Then Nicole with a heavy cannon that could destroy a small building. The energy danced around her like friendly lightning. Dr. Stone was taking notes as fast as she could. The pattern is consistent. All humans show the same immunity. But there's something else. She pulled up readings on the main screen. Look at their vital signs during the attacks. Heart rate actually decreases. Brain activity shows they're becoming more alert, not less. It's like the energy is making them stronger. An insectoid scientist clicked his mandibles together excitedly. If true, this changes everything we know about energy manipulation. But not everyone in the viewing gallery looked happy. Jake noticed several reptilian Sauroch delegates whispering among themselves. Their yellow eyes kept darting toward the humans with what looked like suspicion. After 2 hours of testing, Dr. Stone had enough data to form a theory. She stood before the mixed group of alien scientists and human delegates. Based on what we've seen, I believe this immunity developed naturally on Earth, she began. Our planet has an unusually strong magnetic field and frequent electromagnetic storms. Over millions of years, human ancestors who could survive electrical surges had better chances of survival. A fungoid scientist spoke up, his voice sounding like wind through leaves. But how does this translate to immunity against artificial energy weapons? The principle is the same, Dr. Stone explained. Our bodies treat directed energy as just another form of electromagnetic radiation. We absorb it, process it, and convert it into usable biological energy. She touched her tablet and a new display appeared. The really interesting part is what happens to that converted energy. It seems to enhance human physical capabilities temporarily. Increased strength, faster, reflexes, improve cognitive function. This caused a stir among the observers. Some aliens looked amazed. Others looked frightened. You're saying humans don't just survive energy attacks, said Dr. Velnara slowly. They actually become more dangerous because of them? That appears to be correct, Dr. Stone confirmed. The room fell silent. Jake could see the implications running through every alien mind present. For centuries, the Galactic Council had been organized around the principle that energy weapons were the ultimate military technology. Species with better energy weapons ruled over those with weaker ones. Humans didn't just have immunity. They had found a way to turn the galaxy's most powerful weapons into a source of strength. An alarm suddenly blared through the station. Emergency lights began flashing red. Over the communication system, a voice spoke in the harsh language of the Vorthons. Ambassador Silneth translated quickly. Supreme Chancellor Zekthor has called for an immediate full council session. All delegates must report to the main chamber. As they walked through the corridors, Jake noticed the atmosphere on Unity Prime had changed. Groups of aliens huddled together, speaking in urgent whispers. Some pointed at the humans as they passed. Others moved away from them. Sir, Alex said quietly, I'm getting reports from our ship. Long-range sensors are picking up Vorthon military vessels moving toward this system. How many? Jake asked. At least 50 ships, sir. Maybe more. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The Vorthons had ruled the galaxy through military might for 3 centuries. If they saw humanity as a threat to that power, they wouldn't hesitate to act. The main council chamber was packed when they arrived. All 12 species had sent their full delegations. The noise was incredible as hundreds of aliens spoke at once, in dozens of languages. Supreme Chancellor Zekthor stood at the center of the Vorthon section. His red eyes swept across the chamber before settling on the human delegation. When he spoke, his voice cut through all other sounds. The discovery of human immunity to energy weapons represents a threat to galactic stability, he announced. For the safety of all council members, I propose that humanity be denied membership and forbidden from entering council space. Angry voices rose from several sections. The Aquarians and Crystalline Collective immediately objected, but the Sarok and Insectoid Swarm voiced their support for the Vorthon proposal. Ambassador Silneth stood to speak. The humans have shown no aggressive intentions. Their immunity could be a gift that helps protect all of us. Protection from what? Roared a Sorok delegate. They are the threat. No species should have such power. Jake realized that the galaxy was splitting into factions right before his eyes. Some species saw humanity as potential allies and protectors. Others viewed them as dangerous invaders who could upset the balance of power. We came here in peace, Jake said, standing up. We're not trying to threaten anyone. Zekthor's laugh was cold and harsh. Peace? Your very existence threatens the foundation of galactic civilization. Energy weapons have maintained order for centuries. Without that order, there will be chaos. Maybe it's time for a new kind of order, Nicole said quietly, but her voice carried in the tense chamber. The Vorthon Supreme Chancellor's eyes blazed with anger. You will not dictate terms to the Galactic Council, human. You have 1 day to leave council space permanently, or we will enforce this decision through military action. And if we refuse? Jake asked. Zekthor smiled, showing teeth like broken glass. Then you will discover that while you may be immune to energy weapons, your ships are not. Neither are the space stations that might harbor you. The threat was clear. The Vorthons couldn't hurt humans directly, but they could destroy everything around them. As the council session dissolved into chaos, with different species arguing loudly among themselves, Jake gathered his team together. Sir, Emma said, what do we do now? Jake looked around at the aliens who seemed torn between hope and fear when they looked at humanity. Then he looked at his own people, ordinary humans who had somehow become the center of a galactic crisis. We figure out what it really means to be human in a galaxy that's afraid of us, he said. The communication came in the middle of the night cycle on Unity Prime. Captain Jake Morrison was awakened by urgent knocking on his quarters door. Commander Alex Hayes stood outside, holding a secure tablet with an encrypted message. Sir, this came through our private channel from Earth, Alex said. President Carol White wants to speak with you immediately. Jake rubbed his eyes and looked at the time display. It had been 18 hours since the Vorthon ultimatum. News of human immunity had apparently reached Earth faster than he expected. The secure communication room was small and cramped, designed for privacy rather than comfort. President White's face appeared on the screen, looking tired but determined. Behind her, Jake could see military advisors and scientists moving around what looked like a command center. Captain Morrison, I need a full report on the situation, the president said without preamble. Jake spent 10 minutes explaining everything that had happened. The president listened without interruption, her expression growing more serious with each detail. So the Vorthons have given us 24 hours to leave or they'll start shooting, she summarized when he finished. Yes, ma'am. But they can't actually hurt our people directly. Only our ships and any allies who help us. President White nodded, slowly. That's what our scientists here are telling me too. We've been running our own tests since we got your initial report. Every human we've tested shows the same immunity. She paused, and Jake could see other people talking urgently in the background. Captain, I'm authorizing Operation Shield Wall. General Steve Parker is mobilizing our entire space fleet. We're not running from this fight. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Ma'am, with respect, the Vorthons have technology centuries ahead of ours. Their fleet could destroy every Earthship. Maybe, the president agreed. But they can't destroy our crews, and we've been working on something that might level the playing field. The connection ended, Leaving Jake staring at a blank screen, Alex had been listening from beside him. "Sir, what's Operation Shield Wall?" Alex asked. Before Jake could answer, another alarm sounded through Unity Prime. This time it wasn't the emergency assembly signal, it was the evacuation warning. They ran through corridors filled with panicked aliens. Some species were loading their belongings onto transport ships. Others were arguing with station security. The peaceful Aquarians floated in portable tanks, moving slowly toward their docking bays. Ambassador Silneth intercepted them near the main elevator. "Captain Morrison, my government wants to offer you sanctuary. Our homeworld is far from Vorthan space." "Thank you," Jake said, "but we can't run. If we do, the Vorthans will just come after us later with a bigger fleet. Then what will you do?" Jake was about to answer when the station shook violently. Through the transparent walls, they could see flashes of light in the distance. Ships were fighting near the outer edge of the system. Dr. Lisa Stone came running toward them, her tablet clutched in her hands. "Jake, I've been monitoring communications. Ships from 3 different star systems are heading here." "Vorthan reinforcements?" Alex asked. "No," Lisa said, breathing hard. "Rebel fleets, species that have been fighting Vorthan occupation for years. They heard about human immunity and they're coming to help." Jake felt a spark of hope. Maybe they weren't as alone as he thought. The group made their way to the central command center where they could get a better view of what was happening. The main display showed the space around Unity Prime filled with ships. Jake had never seen so many vessels in one place. A reptilian Sarok officer was coordinating the evacuation. When he saw the humans approach, his yellow eyes narrowed with suspicion. "You should have left when you had the chance," he hissed. "Now your stubbornness will get us all killed." "We didn't ask for this fight," Jake replied, "but we won't run from it either." The display updated to show new contacts approaching the system. These ships were different from the sleek alien vessels. They were angular and gray, built for function, rather than beauty. "Earth ships," Alex said with amazement. "How did they get here so fast?" Lisa was checking her readings. "Those aren't from Earth. The energy signatures are wrong, but they're definitely human designs." A new voice came over the communication system, speaking clear English with a slight accent. "Unity Prime Control, this is Commander Maria Santos of the colony ship New Angeles. We're here to assist our fellow humans." Jake realized what was happening. Earth had established colonies throughout the galaxy over the past 50 years. Those colonies had apparently been building their own fleets using human technology. More voices joined the communication channel. Commander Ben Foster from the mining colony at Kepler Station. Captain Ruth Adams from the agricultural world of New Eden. Colony after colony was checking in, each bringing their own ships and crews. "How many colonies do we have out there?" Alex asked. "I'm counting at least 20 different locations," Lisa said, studying her scanner readings. "Some of these ships are carrying thousands of people each." The tactical display was changing rapidly. What had started as a hopeful evacuation was turning into the largest space battle in galactic history. Vorthan ships were pouring into the system from multiple directions, but they were being met by an unexpected alliance. Rebel fleets from oppressed worlds fought alongside human colonial ships. The peaceful Aquarians had decided to stay and fight, their bioships weaving between enemy vessels like living creatures. Even some of the Crystal Collective had joined the battle, their ships reflecting and redirecting Vorthan energy weapons. But the most surprising addition came from inside Unity Prime itself. The station's own defense systems activated, revealing weapons that Jake didn't know existed. Apparently not everyone on the Galactic Council supported the Vorthan ultimatum. "Captain Morrison," came a voice over the emergency channel. "This is Dr. Velnara. I have important information." They found the Aquarian scientist in her laboratory, working frantically at multiple machines. Her tank was partially drained, and she looked exhausted. "I've been analyzing the energy absorption patterns from your tests," she said quickly. "I think I know why humans developed this immunity." "We thought it was Earth's magnetic field," Lisa said. "Partially correct," Dr. Velnara replied. "But there's more. Your species didn't just adapt to electromagnetic radiation. You adapted to Survive energy weapons specifically. Jake felt confused. That's impossible. We've never encountered energy weapons before today. Haven't you? Dr. Velnara brought up a display showing Earth's history. Lightning strikes, solar flares, aurora, phenomena. Your planet experiences more directed energy events than any world we've studied. You've been training to survive energy weapons for millions of years. The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't just accidentally developed immunity to alien weapons. They had evolved specifically to survive in an energy weapon-dominated galaxy. It's like Earth was preparing us for this, Lisa whispered. The battle outside was intensifying. Through the observation windows, they could see ships exploding in brilliant flashes of light. But something strange was happening. Vorthon weapons seemed to be losing effectiveness against human ships, even though the vessels themselves weren't immune. The crews, Alex realized. Human crews are absorbing energy that penetrates their ship's shields. They're protecting their own vessels from the inside. A new communication came through, this time from Supreme Chancellor Zekthor himself. Humans of Unity Prime, you have forced our hand. We cannot allow this immunity to spread. Prepare for immediate orbital bombardment of the station. Jake looked around at his team, at the alien scientists who had chosen to help them, at the display showing thousands of ships locked in battle. Everything had changed so quickly. Sir? Emma Davis said from the communication station. I'm getting a message from Earth Fleet Command. Admiral Johnson says Operation Shield Wall is ready to begin. What exactly is Shield Wall? Jake asked. Emma's eyes were wide as she read the message. Sir, they've weaponized our immunity. Every human ship now carries specialized boarding pods. They're going to put human Marines directly onto Vorthon vessels. Jake realized that the galaxy's military balance was about to shift dramatically. Energy weapons had ruled space combat for centuries, but humans had just made them obsolete. The question now was whether this would bring peace or start an even bigger war. The first boarding pod launched from the human ship New Angeles with a bright flash. Captain Jake Morrison watched through Unity Prime's observation deck as the small craft shot across space toward the massive Vorthon battleship. Behind it, dozens, more pods followed like a swarm of metal insects. Those pods are crazy, Commander Alex Hayes said, shaking his head. No shields, no weapons, just thick armor and humans inside. Lieutenant Nicole Brooks was monitoring the tactical display. The Vorthons are firing everything they have at those pods. Look at all that energy. The space between the human colonial fleet and the Vorthon battleships lit up like a fireworks show. Plasma beams, laser cannons, and particle weapons created a wall of deadly light. But the boarding pods flew straight through it all. Dr. Lisa Stone was recording everything on her tablet. The pods are absorbing incredible amounts of energy. The humans inside must be getting supercharged. The first pod reached the Vorthon battleship and punched through its hull like a bullet through paper. Then the second pod hit, then the third. Soon, the entire enemy ship was covered with small holes where the pods had penetrated. Supreme Chancellor. Zekthor's voice came over the communication system, speaking to his own fleet. His words were translated by the station's computer. Board all human vessels immediately. If we cannot kill them with energy weapons, we will crush them with our bare hands. Jake watched as Vorthon transport ships launched toward the human colonial vessels. The alien warriors were twice the size of humans and incredibly strong. In hand-to-hand combat, they should have been able to defeat any human easily. But something unexpected happened when the first Vorthon boarding party reached a human ship. The battle was short and brutal, but it was the Vorthons who were overwhelmed. Sir, Communications Officer Beth Richards called from her station. I'm getting reports from the colonial ships. The humans who were hit by energy weapons earlier are fighting like they're superhuman. What do you mean? Jake asked. Increased strength, faster reflexes, better coordination. The energy absorption isn't just protecting them, it's making them stronger for hours afterward. On the main display, Jake could see the tide of battle turning. Human boarding parties were taking control of Vorthon ships one by one. The aliens. Energy weapons were useless inside their own vessels, and their physical advantages were being negated by energy-enhanced humans. But the real shock came when the first captured Vorthon battleship turned its weapons on its own fleet. "The humans are using captured ships against the Vorthons," Alex said with amazement. "They're turning the enemy's own technology against them." Dr. Lisa Stone was studying her readings frantically. "This changes everything about space warfare. Energy weapons have been the dominant force for centuries. But if humans can just walk through energy attacks and then use that energy to become stronger, the Vorthons become their own worst enemy," Jake finished. A new alarm sounded through. Unity Prime. This time it wasn't about the battle in space. Something was happening inside the station itself. "Security alert," came an announcement. "Vorthon forces have breached Docking Bay 7. All personnel evacuate to emergency stations." Jake and his team ran through the corridors toward the threatened section. They could hear the sounds of fighting ahead. Energy weapons were firing continuously, their high-pitched whines echoing through the metal hallways. They found Lieutenant Colonel Danny Foster and a squad of human Marines holding a defensive position near the main corridor. The Marines were using old-fashioned bullets and grenades while Vorthon warriors fired plasma rifles at them from around a corner. "Sir," Danny called when he saw Jake approach. "They're trying to reach the main reactor. If they destroy it, the whole station goes up." "How many are there?" Alex asked. "At least 50, maybe more." They came in through a docking bay that was supposed to be sealed. Jake watched the fight for a moment. Every time a Vorthon energy beam hit one of the human Marines, the soldiers seemed to move faster and hit harder. But there were so many enemy warriors that the humans were slowly being pushed back. "We need reinforcements," Danny said, reloading his rifle. "But all our other people are in space fighting the fleet." That's when Jake remembered something Dr. Stone had discovered during the tests. "Lisa, you said the energy absorption makes humans stronger. What happens if someone absorbs a lot of energy at once?" "Theoretically, the effects would be multiplied," she replied. "But we haven't tested the upper limits. It could be dangerous." Jake made a decision that would either save Unity Prime or kill him. "Alex, give me your sidearm. Everyone else, stay back." "Sir, what are you doing?" Alex asked, but he handed over his pistol. Jake walked out into the open corridor. Immediately, dozens of Vorthon energy weapons focused on him. The air filled with deadly light as plasma beams converged on his position. The energy hit Jake like a warm ocean wave. Instead of pain, he felt a surge of power unlike anything he had ever experienced. His heart pounded, but not from fear, from pure adrenaline and converted energy. When the Vorthon stopped firing, Jake was still standing, but now he felt like he could run through walls. He sprinted toward the enemy position faster than any human should have been able to move. The Vorthons tried to shoot him again, but Jake was already among them. His fists hit with the force of hammers, and he moved like lightning between the confused aliens. In less than 2 minutes, 50 Vorthon warriors were unconscious or running for their lives. Danny Foster stared at Jake with wide eyes. "Sir, remind me never to make you angry." Jake felt the energy slowly fading from his system, leaving him tired but victorious. "Get teams to secure all the docking bays. If they try that again, we'll be ready." As they secured the station, reports came in from the space battle. Human forces had captured or destroyed most of the Vorthon fleet. The few remaining enemy ships were retreating toward the edge of the system. But the most important news came from Dr. Velnara in her laboratory. "Captain Morrison, you must come quickly," the Aquarian scientist called over the communication system. "I have discovered something about your energy absorption ability that changes everything." They found Dr. Velnara floating in her tank, surrounded by displays showing complex genetic data. "The energy doesn't just make you stronger temporarily," she explained. "It's actually rewriting your DNA. Each exposure is making the immunity stronger and adding new capabilities." "What kind of capabilities?" Lisa asked. "Enhanced healing, improved cognitive function, increased lifespan. Your species isn't just immune to energy weapons. You're evolving because of them." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "You're saying that fighting energy weapons makes us better?" "Exactly. And there's more. The genetic changes are being passed to your offspring. Each generation of humans will be more advanced than the last." The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just found a way to survive in a galaxy dominated by energy weapons. They had found a way to use those weapons as a tool for evolution. "Sir," Beth Richards called from the communication station. "I'm getting a message from Supreme Chancellor Zekthor. He wants to negotiate." Jake looked around at his team, at the alien scientists who had helped them, at the displays showing human ships, patrolling the space around Unity Prime. "Put him through," Jake said. Zekthor's face appeared on the main screen. The proud Vorthon leader looked defeated and exhausted. "Captain Morrison," he said slowly, "the Vorthon Empire wishes to discuss terms of surrender." The words hung in the air like a physical presence. The most powerful military force in the galaxy was surrendering to a species that had been unknown just days before. "We're listening," Jake replied carefully. "Your immunity to our weapons makes further conflict pointless," Zekthor continued. "We propose a ceasefire and negotiations for a new galactic order." Jake realized that this was the moment that would define humanity's future in the galaxy. Everything that happened next would determine whether they became protectors or conquerors, whether they brought peace or started an even bigger war. "We accept your proposal for negotiations," Jake said finally. "But the terms will be different from what you're used to." Zekthor's red eyes flashed with something that might have been fear. "What do you mean?" "I mean the age of rule through superior firepower is over," Jake replied. "It's time for something new." The negotiation chamber on Unity Prime had been rebuilt in just 3 days. Representatives from all 12 Galactic Council species sat around a circular table, but the atmosphere was completely different from the first meeting. This time, the humans weren't visitors asking for membership. They were the power everyone else had to deal with. Captain Jake Morrison sat across from Supreme Chancellor Zekthor, who looked smaller somehow without his massive fleet backing him up. The Vorthon leader's red eyes kept darting toward the human delegation, as if he expected them to attack at any moment. "The terms you propose are unacceptable," Zekthor said, his voice lacking its usual commanding tone. "The Vorthon Empire has maintained order in this galaxy for 3 centuries. "Order built on fear," replied Ambassador Silneth from her water tank. The Aquarian had become an unofficial spokesperson for the species that supported humanity. "Your energy weapons kept everyone afraid to rebel. But fear is not the same as peace." Dr. Lisa Stone was taking notes on her tablet while monitoring several ongoing experiments. Over the past week, she had confirmed that human immunity was spreading. Children born to energy-exposed parents showed even stronger resistance to alien weapons. "The question," said Dr. Velnara, floating in her portable tank, "is what humanity plans to do with their immunity. Will you become the new rulers? Will you conquer as the Vortons did?" All eyes turned to Jake. This was the moment he had been thinking about since the first energy beam bounced harmlessly off Sergeant Ryan Clark. What did humanity want from the galaxy? "We don't want to rule anyone," Jake said simply. "We came here looking for friends and trade partners. That hasn't changed." A reptilian Sorok delegate hissed skeptically. "You expect us to believe that? Your people have defeated the most powerful military force in known space. Power corrupts all species." "Maybe," Jake admitted, "but we're going to try something different." He stood up and activated the holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a map of the galaxy, with current political boundaries. "Here's what we propose," Jake began. "First, all energy weapon attacks on civilian populations stop immediately. Any military force that uses energy weapons against non-combatants will face human intervention." Zekthor leaned forward angrily. "You cannot police the entire galaxy." "We don't have to police it," Commander Alex Hayes said from beside Jake. "We just have to be willing to show up when someone calls for help, and we've proven that energy. Weapons can't stop us," Jake continued. "Second, we established trade and technology sharing agreements between all species. No more withholding advanced technology to maintain military advantages." This caused excited murmuring among several delegations. Species that had been denied access to energy weapons and faster-than-light travel for centuries suddenly saw opportunities opening up. "Third," Jake said, We create a new council structure based on cooperation instead of military dominance. Every species gets an equal vote regardless of their weapons technology. The crystal being representative, a tall figure that reflected rainbow light, spoke in a voice like wind chimes. And what do humans gain from this arrangement? You have the power to take whatever you want. Dr. Stone looked up from her tablet. We gain something more valuable than territory or resources. We gain a galaxy where our children can grow up safely. She activated another display showing genetic analysis data. Our immunity is evolving rapidly. Each generation will be stronger and more resistant than the last. But that also means we're becoming more different from other species. We don't want to become so different that we can't relate to anyone else, Lisa continued. We need friends and allies, not subjects and enemies. Lieutenant Nicole Brooks, who had been quiet during most of the negotiations, finally spoke up. Besides, ruling a galaxy sounds like a lot of work. We'd rather explore it. Despite the tension in the room, several aliens made sounds that Jake had learned to recognize as laughter. But Supreme Chancellor Zekthor was not amused. And if we refuse these terms, will you destroy us as we would have destroyed you? Jake looked at the Vorthan leader for a long moment. No. We'll leave you alone and work with everyone else. But if you attack peaceful worlds or use energy weapons against civilians, we'll stop you, not destroy you, just stop you. How? Zekthor demanded. The same way we stopped your fleet, Alex replied. We'll board your ships, disable your weapons, and send you home to think about better ways to solve problems. Communications Officer Beth Richards received a message on her headset and whispered something to Jake. His expression brightened. We just received confirmation from Earth, Jake announced. The colonial worlds have voted to establish the Human Defense League. Any species that requests our help against energy weapon attacks will receive it. A galaxy-wide police force, the fungoid delegate mused. Unprecedented. Not police, Jake corrected. More like emergency responders. We only get involved when someone is being hurt by energy weapons. Dr. Velnara's tentacles moved excitedly in her tank. I have a proposal. Let us establish joint research facilities. Human immunity combined with alien technology could lead to discoveries that benefit everyone. We're interested, Dr. Stone said immediately. Imagine what we could learn working together. The insectoid representative clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The swarm would contribute to such research. We have always been curious about biological adaptation. Even the Sarok delegate seemed to be reconsidering his position. If humans are truly committed to non-interference except in cases of energy weapon abuse, we are, Jake said firmly. We're putting our reputation and our people's safety on the line with this promise. Supreme Chancellor Zekthor sat silent for several minutes while the other species continued discussing the proposed changes. Finally, he spoke. The Vorthon Empire will agree to these terms on one condition. What condition? Jake asked. That humans prove they can be trusted with such power. We want joint human Vorthon patrols in border systems. If you are truly committed to protection rather than conquest, work with us instead of replacing us. This surprised everyone in the room. Jake hadn't expected the Vorthons to want to cooperate rather than just surrender. You're offering to work with us? Jake asked. We are offering to test your intentions, Zekthor replied. 300 years of military experience should not be wasted. If you truly want to protect innocent worlds, you will need allies who understand warfare. Jake looked around the table at the faces of beings from a dozen different worlds. Some looked hopeful, others still seemed suspicious. But all of them were looking to humanity for leadership in a way that felt both exciting and terrifying. We accept, Jake said finally. Joint patrols, shared research, equal representation for all species. And if we ever break these promises, if we ever use our immunity to become conquerors instead of protectors, then the galaxy has every right to unite against us. Dr. Stone smiled and made a note on her tablet. I think this is the beginning of something amazing. As the formal agreements were signed and the new Galactic Alliance was established, Jake stepped outside onto an observation deck. Through the transparent walls, he could see ships from dozens of worlds working together to repair Unity Prime. Human vessels worked alongside Aquarian bioships, Vorthan battlecruisers, and Crystal Collective lightcrafts. Sergeant Ryan Clark joined him at the window. The young soldier looked the same as he had a week ago, but Jake knew he was already becoming something more than human. "Sir, do you think this will really work?" Ryan asked. "A whole galaxy cooperating instead of fighting?" Jake watched a human, child from one of the colonial ships playing with young aliens in a recreation area. They were laughing together despite not speaking the same language. "I don't know," Jake admitted. "But I think it's worth trying. Besides, if it doesn't work, our kids will figure out something better." Ryan nodded and headed back inside. Jake remained at the window for a while longer, looking out at the stars and thinking about the future. Humanity had come to the galaxy looking for membership in an existing order. Instead, they had accidentally created an entirely new one. The age of energy weapon dominance was over. The age of cooperation was just beginning. And somewhere out in the vast galaxy, the next generation of humans was already being born with abilities their parents could barely imagine. Jake smiled and went inside to help build the future.